Hey K-pop lovers! You're tuned in to K-pop Fair, where every story hits your heart like your favorite beat. The city lights of Seoul flickered like distant galaxies, their reflections scattering across the sleek marble of the gallery floors. A soft anticipation hummed in the air, delicate yet electric, as guests whispered along the polished corridors. Outside, the autumn chill pressed against the glass facades of the Free Seoul venue. Yet inside, warmth radiated from the curated glow of contemporary masterpieces. Each canvas, sculpture, and installation seemed to pulse in time with the quiet footsteps of the arriving crowd. Then he arrived. Kim Tae-young, a presence simultaneously serene and magnetic, crossing the threshold with a grace that bent time itself. The murmur of the crowd shifted, a subtle wave of recognition that passed like wind through the gallery halls. His attire spoke of quiet rebellion against convention. Tailored yet fluid, structured yet intimate, as if every thread had been woven with intent. The fabric caught the gallery lights, shimmering subtly, echoing the gleam in his eyes. Every movement was poetry, every glance a brushstroke, painting the space with an energy that both complemented and transcended the art surrounding him. Cameras clicked softly, not with aggression, but with reverence, as if capturing fragments of a living masterpiece. The ambient music, curated for this particular night, drifted like a whisper between walls lined with human imagination. Each note seemed to respond to his presence, bending and rising, weaving a narrative only those in attendance could feel. Tae-young paused before a monumental canvas, his gaze lingering, thoughtful. The public held their collective breath, sensing that a dialogue silent yet profound was unfolding between man and art. From the corner of the room, photographers and journalists angled themselves, but the moment felt intimate, almost secretive. Even amidst the crowd, a sphere of stillness surrounded him, a delicate gravity tethered to nothing but presence. Whispers of fashion critics fluttered around him, their words like silk threading through the air. Some remarked on the daring cut of his jacket, others on the subtle interplay of colors that mirrored contemporary palettes. All agreed silently. He had transformed fashion into performance, and presence into statement. The gallery lights shifted, and shadows danced across the polished floor, elongating and bending like abstract expressions of the evening itself. His shadow, tall and purposeful, seemed to become part of the installations, a living sculpture amid the curated works. Visitors moved closer, careful not to disrupt the delicate rhythm of the space. Some captured fleeting photos, others simply watched, savoring a moment that felt suspended outside the ordinary flow of time. Media crews recorded with a gentle diligence, framing the scene as both spectacle and study. The lens sought to capture him, yet invariably, it captured the ambient atmosphere, an interplay of light, expectation, and silent awe. As he navigated the space, Tae-young's gestures were small yet deliberate. A hand extended slightly toward a sculpture, a soft nod to a fellow artist, a measured pause that acknowledged the room's collective breath. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and autumn leaves drifting in through barely open windows. Somewhere in the background, faint notes of a classical violin mingled with soft electronic undertones, bridging centuries of human creativity in a single auditory tapestry. He stopped before a particularly striking installation, a cascade of glass suspended midair, catching the gallery lights like frozen sunlight. His expression softened, contemplative, as if the work spoke to some unspoken understanding within him. The crowd, initially buzzing with subtle excitement, now held a quiet reverence. Even casual visitors instinctively lowered voices, aware that art and presence were colliding in a dialogue far beyond ordinary conversation. A few murmured, attempting to interpret the meaning of the pieces in light of his presence. Others simply absorbed the atmosphere, surrendering to the magnetic pull of the moment. Tae-young's eyes, deep and reflective, seemed to drink in every detail. The angles of the sculptures, the subtle textures of painted strokes, the interplay of shadow and light. He moved with a rhythm that was entirely his own, neither rushed nor hesitant, but inherently purposeful. Every photographer in the room found themselves recalibrating their lenses. Nothing seemed posed. Everything seemed inevitable, as if the gallery itself had conspired to stage this ephemeral tableau. The fashion he wore spoke silently, a dialogue of heritage and modernity, of restraint and audacity. Colors were muted but precise, cuts clean but unexpectedly fluid, embodying a sophistication that felt both approachable and mythic. Observers noted the subtle confidence in his stance, the way a slight tilt of the head could shift the emotional temperature of an entire room. Even the faintest smile or blink seemed deliberate, almost choreographed to harmonize with the gallery's rhythm. Taeyong's presence seemed to animate the artworks, giving weight to conceptual pieces that might otherwise float in abstraction. The night felt suspended, a rare alignment of celebrity, art, and human empathy. Conversations around him were hushed, yet charged with excitement. The gentle hum of admiration and critical discourse intertwined, forming a tapestry of human engagement with creativity. As he approached a mixed media installation, one constructed of mirrors and suspended light, a soft ripple of awe swept through the room. Reflections multiplied, not only of the work itself but of him, creating a fractal effect. Taeyong within the art within him. Journalists scribbled furiously, attempting to encapsulate the ineffable. Photographers adjusted their apertures, striving to catch the delicate interplay of luminescence and motion. Yet all knew the night could not truly be captured, only felt. He lingered, observing the intricate layers of the piece, and a subtle smile played on his lips. It was not performative. It was discovery. The kind of quiet revelation that only occurs when art and observer find mutual resonance. Guests found themselves drawn to him, not in pursuit of celebrity, but in the pursuit of shared experience. His attention to detail, his respect for each work, seemed to elevate the collective appreciation of the evening. Taeyong's hands occasionally brushed against surfaces, tables, railings, sculptural edges, each contact deliberate yet seemingly casual. Small gestures of interaction that revealed an attunement to space, texture, and the subtle choreography of human presence. In one corner, a young artist lingered, captivated by his proximity. Taeyong offered a nod, a brief smile, a gesture that bridged the distance between audience and icon. The exchange, though fleeting, carried weight, a silent acknowledgement of creative communion. The event's photographers noted the interplay of candid and composed moments, but the most striking images were often those unscripted. A glance, a posture, a shift in expression. Life lived within frames, yet not defined by them. Global media coverage would later frame the night as a convergence of art, fashion, and celebrity, yet in the immediate, the experience was tactile and sensory. The whisper of fabric, the glint of polished surfaces, the subtle cadence of footsteps across marble. Taeyong's presence seemed to elongate moments, turning ordinary intervals into suspended pauses, each encounter layered with resonance and intention. Time, for those in the room, felt both expansive and intimately compressed. A soft murmur of laughter rose near the entrance, and he responded with the slightest of smiles, a gentle acknowledgement that rippled subtly through the crowd. It was a human moment, delicate and unscripted amid the choreography of the event. Each piece of art he approached seemed to gain a new dimension, refracted through his contemplation. His engagement was neither performative nor superficial. It was immersive, a quiet dialogue that honored both the creator and the creation. The gallery's glass walls captured reflections of Taeyong and the crowd, doubling and fracturing images in a visual echo that mirrored the multifaceted nature of presence and perception. Observers moved between these reflections and reality, caught in a visual and emotional interplay. Conversations carried over champagne flutes and whispered exchanges, yet attention continuously returned to him, not as spectacle, but as a focal point of shared curiosity and aesthetic appreciation. The interplay of shadow and illumination across his features echoed the artistic contrasts around him. Stark and subtle, light and dark, simplicity and complexity. Each nuance contributed to the unfolding narrative of presence and perception. By the evening's close, Taeyong lingered near the central installation, the room's energy coalescing into a quiet, reflective resonance. Attendees moved in hushed clusters, the weight of collective admiration tempered by the intimacy of shared observation. As he exited, the gallery seemed to exhale, a soft release of tension and attention. The echoes of the night, the impressions of gaze and gesture, lingered in the air like a delicate perfume. Outside, the city waited, lights undimmed, streets alive with nocturnal rhythm. The event had ended, yet the resonance of Taeyong's presence persisted, a quiet ripple expanding beyond the gallery walls and into the world beyond. Every detail, the music, the fabric, the reflections, the interactions, remained imprinted in memory. a mosaic of experience stitched from fleeting moments of authenticity and artistry. And as the night deepened, Free's soul stood as both stage and witness, a luminous vessel holding the convergence of global artistry, human connection, and the singular magnetism of a figure who transcended both. That's it from K-Pop Fair, your ultimate K-pop destination. Remember, stay sparkling and always follow your heart. See you in the next video.